Hey guys, Perry here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you about the latest from Cadaver, Edder Bile, out November 27th on Nuclear Blast. The album has 10 tracks, 31 minutes in length, and this is the band's 4th full-length studio album. 16 years since Necrosis, the wait is over. The next full-length album from Cadaver is here. And this album hits you like a ton of bricks. What an incredible record with incredible fluidity. In my opinion, the reason for that is 4 main elements that come together allow this album to be the way that it is. It's only 10 tracks, it's only 31 minutes in length, the songs have an individual song structure, but overall the playability of the record as far as the soundscape stays very cohesive, very balanced from the first to the last song. When you put these 4 elements together, you have an album that's absolutely brutal, aggressive, linear, straightforward, pounds you to submission from the first to the last song. You blink and it's over. That's the kind of record that you have in your hands. And to me, that's the kind of death metal record that I want. I want to be hit with as much force, as much power, as much aggression, as much brutality as possible, and come at me relentlessly from the first to the last song so that I don't get a chance to relax until the album is over. I love that aspect of this record. I love how it plays out, and I love the force that it has built in within those 4 elements. When you look into the soundscape of this record, this is an old school death metal album as far as sound is concerned. They went back into the vault, and this record sounds like any other Cadaver record. They really brought the sound that they did in Necrosis, they pushed it forward, but this is an album that feels like they just picked up exactly where they left off. It's an album that has that old school approach, not just in how it comes across, but in how it was recorded and how it's mixed, and the overall experience that you get listening to it. It really almost makes you travel in time into the past. It feels like an album that came straight from the vault as far as the overall sound perspective is concerned. Deeper within that sound, you have to look at the guitars and drums. Those are the 2 motors, the 2 driving forces behind this record. The drums are very powerful, very heavy, but at the same time, very rich. They have a very rich sound. They don't feel hollow. They add this perfect bass line that allows everything else to be packed on top to create this larger than life feel. The songs have volume, they have heartbeat, and that is really important for an album that has this kind of pounding approach, track after track after track. As far as the guitars are concerned, I felt that they were a little bit more dynamic. They went in different directions depending on the song, depending on what the song called for. Sometimes a little bit more driven, sometimes a little bit more methodic, a little heavier, often giving a lot of melody, really creating an atmosphere for the tracks. So I felt that the guitars were a little bit more, had a little bit more freedom, if you will, but the drums kind of kept everything in place. It kept everything concentrated and pointing in the right direction. So it allows the guitars to vary a little bit, to go a little bit off the reservation, if you will, but then come back again in line in order to create this very robust sound approach that the record has. Last but not least, we have to talk about the vocals. I felt that the vocals were very uniform from the first to the last song. What you get with the first track is what you're going to get all the way through. There's very little variations. I was not expecting any variations at all, and that's fine. You want the vocals to be cohesive. You wanted them to be an element that kind of glues the whole album together, that brings a sense of balance. So even if the songs sound slightly different or have different directions or different ways in which they were constructed, the vocals are going to be that uniform element that kind of brings everything together, that holds everything together. Perhaps the only differences as far as vocals are concerned, or variations, if you will, as vocals are concerned, are the 2 guest vocalists on the album. Jeff Becerra from Possessed and Cam Lee from Massacre. They have some guest spots on this record, so that allows those songs to have a little bit more of a dynamic flavor, to change a little bit directions, to change a little bit of the feel that the song has. But these guys are old school death metal guys, so they don't change that much the DNA of the tracks that they're in. They infuse a little bit of their own DNA, of their own presence into the tracks, but you still feel like you're listening to a Cadaver track at the end of the day. Overall, I love this album. It's an album that has that old school gritty death metal approach to it, in the way it's constructed, in the way it's put together, the sound experience that you're going to get out of it, the vocals, and how fluid and dynamic it is from the first song to the last song is absolutely ferocious. That's the best word to describe the overall experience of listening to this album. As far as songs are concerned, I want to start off with Final Fight. Great track. The opening is very catchy. The way it starts off, it really immediately becomes a earworm, and you're captivated by how this track feels and how it comes across. It hooks you right at the beginning. The track moves at a relentless pace. It just has great tempo. The vocals give direction to the track. I felt like they orientated the song in terms of which direction the track needed to go. The drums are awesome on this song. They have a lot of presence, they have a lot of heaviness, they add a lot of heaviness to the overall soundscape that this track has to offer. The guitars are slightly more driven. Sometimes they match the intensity of the drums, but I always felt like they were a little bit thinner than the drums. They were pushing the sound in a thinner way, but still in a powerful, driven way. And I love that about it because it creates a great dynamic between those two different elements. But overall, this is a great track that closes off the same way that it started. So it's a song that goes full circle. It comes at you fast, furious. It's a short track, compound. Starting off, finishing in the same way. It just goes to show you that they can build a track that is short, compact, but still very memorable. Next, Deathmachine. This one has a little bit of a dark melody to it, and I love it. That undertone, that dark undertone, really permeates throughout the song. The drums give this track a great foundation, a great bass, and then it allows everything else to be built upon that bass and make the song a lot more methodic, a lot heavier, a lot more destructive. The guitars really push a melodic side, and they're allowed to push that melodic side because the drums are so furious, they're so heavy, they're so brutal, so powerful that they overtake this track as far as the heaviness of the song is concerned. So the guitars almost have freedom of reign, and they can push the song in different perspectives and still allow the track to feel heavy overall. The aggression and heaviness that you also get from the drums, you get from the vocals. So there's definitely two elements that keep the heaviness of this track alive and well from the beginning all the way to the end. Last but not least, Let Me Burn. This is the last song on the record, my favorite song on the record. I love this track. First of all, I love the bass on this track. It comes across really well, sometimes more than other times. It peeks its head in and out as you travel throughout the track, but I love the sound of the bass on this song. It just gives the song this incredible mood. It brings the mood down, if you will. It gives a darker atmosphere to how this track sounds and how it comes across. It's a more methodic track, a little bit slower. Perhaps what loses in speed, it gains in heaviness. You just feel like it's a song that's about to burst at the seams as it moves along. The solos are magnificent, and the solos are the igniter of the track. Specifically, the second solo absolutely destroys everything. You feel like everything is falling apart. The song becomes very explosive, very heavy. You're not able to control this track any longer, and it just becomes auto-destructive as it moves towards the end of the track. The solo completely demolished the song. A song that was very methodic, very slow-moving, heavy but slow-moving up until that point. The moment the solo hits, that second solo hits, the song gains speed, it gains momentum. It's just the train is off the tracks, and you just don't know where the track is going to end up because you just feel like you've lost complete control of everything around you. Perfect way to close off the record. But then the track itself closes off in a more controlled fashion. So once that solo is over, the air kind of comes back into the balloon, and you're able to control the track, and there's a sense of finality in how the song ends. So it gives you this burst of energy, and then it sucks it all back in again and closes off the album. Perfect track to close the record. This is it. Cadaver with Edder Bile, out November 27th on Nuclear Blast. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.